Jiro here for Umbra Games with a review of Battlefield Hardline, played on Xbox One. Wait, Jiro is reviewing a Battlefield game, you might say? I've decided if I'm going to do this whole review thing, I need to attempt to stay grounded in all genres despite my predispositions. Plus, I found a cheap used copy, so why not? Battlefield Hardline is the product of two Electronic Arts studios, Visceral Games, the makers of Dead Space, the first of which I really liked, and Digital Illusions Creative Entertainment, aka DICE. I'll be honest, I'm not much for the corridor first-person shooter genre where I throw games like Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, and Battlefield, nor do I dabble much in said genre's multiplayer mode. So I thought it was time I checked up on all this noise. Battlefield Hardline is the first Battlefield to not really focus on a true battlefield per se, but instead places you in the boots of Miami's cops and opposing robbers. Let's touch first on the single-player campaign. The badge you tote around in the story belongs to an honest cop named Nick Mendoza who gets trapped in a web of corruption and deceit while busting drug dealers in various settings. As you come to a crime scene, you can scan for wanted fugitives in the area and evidence of the case you're working on, as well as related cases. You get bonus experience for takedowns and arrests over just shooting criminals, especially if you can fulfill a warrant arrest. Experience opens modifications and weapons that you can add and change in various tactical crates throughout the missions. There are some car chases where you must stick closely to your suspect while navigating a corridor of the city, being careful not to go too far the wrong way or attempting to improvise and take shortcuts or the mission will fail. You carry a primary weapon and a sidearm at all times, and you can switch out for enemy gear, unlocking them in a tactical crate for later use as well. You can take a couple of approaches in each situation. You can attempt to go in stealth or with guns blazing. If you mess up on your stealth, you can start the blazing anyway, which I still attest is the best kind of a stealth game. A lot of rooms have an alarm box that's really helpful to sneak over to disarm first, but again, if you want the fast-paced shootout, they can be ignored as well. The game's 10 episodes carry about 7 to 8 hours of content and unlock some battle packs that contain skins and bonuses that can be used for your multiplayer loadouts. After finishing the game, I realized I had very nearly pigeonholed this entire genre. Hardline actually didn't feel like what I would call a corridor shooter at all. Instead, it was a series of rooms connected by cutscenes. The rigid structure leads you from set battle to set battle, only missing a set of rails to make it a light gun shooter, and collectible evidence their attempt to distract you from that fact. Playing through the campaign at times felt like I was watching an episode of CSI. I mean, in one way, that's fine to say a game has well-acted cutscenes, enough to put it equivalent to TV, but the jerkiness of moving just from set to set hindered the experience. The plot twists were a little better than a cop procedural show, as you often assumed you knew the outcome, and instead it would often double back on you. There are, of course, a few outrageous set pieces that you wouldn't see on TV, like blowing up helicopters and falling through floors, because, well, we must have explosions. I'm not gonna lie, with some of the outlandish plot of this game, it felt like maybe the devs had come up with some multiplayer maps and decided they wanted to reuse the assets and try to write a story to link them all. Like a Michael Bay Transformer movie, having the special effects and fight scenes done before a plot was put together. But, from what I understand, people don't pick these games up for the campaign, so I decided to go in for some multiplayer. So there are 4 skill trees that can be unlocked in multiplayer through experience gains that open various weapons and tactical gear. This includes Operator, Mechanic, Enforcer, and Professional. There are quite a few modes available in Hardline, and already a few expansions to purchase to add maps and additional modes. The base game, however, features 7. Heist, where the criminals have to find and break into vaults by protecting drills and then transport the goods to a waiting helicopter. Hotwire, where vehicles function as mobile territory capture points and you must speed around to make the other team lose tickets, aka points. Blood Money puts a stack of cash in the middle of a stage and cops try to claim it for evidence and robbers claim it for themselves, each storing it in their vault where it can be stolen if not protected. Rescue has cops attempting to rescue hostages where one must survive or all the criminals must be killed. Crosshair is a mode where cops are escorting a VIP who is going to squeal to save his life and the robbers must try and eliminate him. And Conquest has a small and large mode, which is your typical territory capture modes, the large including more vehicles. And, of course, finally, the obligatory team deathmatch, where the team that racks up the most kills wins the game. Of those modes, I personally found Blood Money and Hotwire the most enjoyable, but after a few matches I felt I'd seen everything I needed and was ready to move on. Now, once again, for honesty's sake, in case you hadn't noticed, my multiplayer FPS resume isn't very long. I played a lot of Titanfall on Xbox One when it came out. I did some Call of Duty World at War on PS3 back in the day, but most of the time I'm just genuinely uninterested. Maybe it's the hours of GoldenEye on N64 or the 16-player linked Halo death matches on Xbox back in the day that burned me out, but the repetition of a handful of maps to unlock guns that don't behave all that differently, and that are all virtually same in every similar title, it just doesn't grab me. And don't get me wrong, it's not because I'm not good or necessarily can't hold my own. After a few warm-up matches, I often ended up in the middle or above in each round. I do have to ask, what's with this driving? This is like the worst peripheral vision ever. And if this is how we truly viewed vehicles in real life, there'd be even more accidents on the highway while driving. It made me feel like I was driving with my right eye closed. And you know, it's pretty crazy to see how much Battlefield Hardline has been monetized. I mean, I'm all about the content adding DLC, as I think that's a great way for development companies to keep their studio lights on and extend the lives of projects of which they've committed so much time and energy. It's actually also a pretty cool service that they let you rent out your own server where you can change game mechanics and rules to suit you and your friends' needs, much like we used to be able to do in local multiplayer death matches of old. I actually draw the line though in letting people purchase all progression of the skill trees. First of all, the kind of player that would do this type of thing, I don't really understand personally. I mean, if you automatically have everything unlocked, what more is there to play the game for? I mean, there's always going to be someone better than you. I mean, this just takes instant gratification to a whole new level. In addition, being able to buy the battle packs, which feature round bonuses with real money. I mean, I'm assuming the sales of this must be going well, as the options are still available nearly a year after release, but I don't know, I guess I just feel like things like this are something that a player should earn. So I have heard from friends that of all the Battlefields I could have started with, that this probably wasn't the best example. I guess I should do some research and figure out what the best continuing military shooter is and actually give it a real shot. Pun intended. So even though it's borderline corridor as mentioned, rated as a corridor first-person shooter, Battlefield Hardline lands at a 46 out of 100. As I was working through the rating, I kind of wondered if there should be a different criteria system of mine for games that are set up mainly for multiplayer. I'll have to think about that, and maybe I can reevaluate this title later. For now though, this is Jiro for Umbra Games. Thanks for watching.